Well, today I'll be talking on anatomical modification on human foot and pelvis due to assumption of erect posture. Man is the animal which stands perfectly erect, and when we compare it with the posture of apes and monkeys or with other quadrupedal animals, pelvis experience a good number of changes. Just imagine the posture of a terrestrial quadrupedal animal, where the trunk is almost horizontal to the ground and the limbs perpendicular to the ground. So what happened? The trunk is like this, horizontal to the ground, and the limbs vertical. So what happened? It is perpendicular. Then naturally the position of pelvis will be also horizontal to the ground for those animals who are quadrupedal. And when men stand erect, the trunk is no more horizontal, but it is vertical. And the legs again vertical. So the pelvis bone is vertical in position and leg bone also vertical in position. So leg bone and pelvis, they are parallel to one another and vertical to the ground, no more horizontal. And the changes are as such. Among the quadrupedal animals, the pelvis is cylindrical in shape, and in case of man, it is no more cylindrical. It is rather flattened and shortened. So in short, we say it is lower and broad. This is a pelvis bone. This is another pelvis bone. These two pelvis bone, they will fuse together and form a pelvic girdle along with this sacrum, like this. So here this pelvis bone, it has three parts. This upper part, it is called ilium, and this part is called ischium, and this part pubis. So ilium, ischium, pubis, they join together at this particular point called acetabulum, and these three bones, they evolve in different rates. So biologically we say pelvis experience a mosaic evolution. So mosaic evolution is a term which means different rate of evolution of an organ system, or maybe bone, maybe tissue, whatever be the case. So on this particular bone, as I said, there are three bones together, fused together, forming this compact bone. So this ilium, then ischium and pubis, they fuse together and form pelvis. But this ilium part, it experienced the fastest change, the fastest evolution. And the ischium part, ischium part experienced the least evolution, the least change. So with the assumption of erect posture, what happened? This ilium part, this becomes broader and shorter, broader and shorter, and almost fan-shaped. So, another change that we have noted in the pelvis due to assumption of erect posture is that this articular surface, this is called articular surface. We call it ilio from ilium and sacral from sacrum. So, ilium and sacrum articulate. So, we call it iliosacral articular surface. So, this iliosacral articular surface broadens. Why broadens? Because it needs to form a pelvic basin. So, why this pelvic basin is formed? Just to support the viscera, internal viscera of the body. Here, I told you, this is called acetabulum. So, this is a place. This is acetabulum is a place, articular surface, where the head of the femur, commonly called thigh bone, is to be hefted. And the weight supported by the pelvis is to be transmitted through this and through to your femur. So, this needs to be larger. So, it is comparatively larger and it is comparatively deeper. When it is not large and when it is not deep, there may be a chance of slipping out. There may be a chance of slipping out. So, in order to support and transmit the body weight, this is larger and broader. Then the sacrum, again the sacrum, it is having a concavity. So, this concavity again helps in making the basin broader and act almost as a bottom of the basin to support the internal viscera. So, these are some of the anatomical modifications that we have noted on the pelvis of man due to assumption of erect posture. And as such, pelvis experience rather a greater or larger number of changes as compared to vertebral column. But when compared to skull, skull experience larger amount of or larger number of changes due to assumption of erect posture. Among the bones of our skeleton, more particularly lower extremity, femur is one such bone which has experienced a number of modifications due to assumption of erect posture. And this is femur bone located at the thigh of our leg. And in fact, this is the longest and the largest bone of human body. And one very important modification that has taken place is that, you see, among the primates, other primates, non-human primates, what happened? The lower limbs are shorter and the upper limb are longer. But in case of man, due to assumption of erect posture, what happened? The lower limb, that means lower extremity, it has increased in length. So as such, the lower extremity is longer than the upper extremity. So that's why this femur is considered to be the longest bone of our human body. Well, some of the modification that we have noticed as a result of which human beings assume erect posture is that this condyle, the lower enlarged part of this long bone, this is condyle. So this one we call it medial condyle and this we call it lateral condyle. So these condyles are enlarged. Why it is enlarged? It is enlarged because the whole body weight transmitted from the pelvis is to be supported. So it needs to be large. So that's why it is large. So this is one modification that has taken place on the femur due to assumption of erect posture. And another point is that, you see, on the back side, this is the front side, and on the back side, or we call it posterior side, on the posterior side there is a prominent ridge running along the whole length of the shaft. So this is the ridge, a prominent ridge, and this ridge is called linea aspera. This linea aspera is very much well defined. In some of the apes and the monkeys, this is almost absent. So why it is so? This is particularly for attachment of the extensor muscles, which helps in making the body erect. So this presence of linea aspera is another very, very important characteristics, or rather one of the most important characteristics of human femur, which helps in making human body erect and walk bipedally. Then another point is that, you see, this is head, and this part we call it neck, and this is diaphysis, or what we call shaft. The angle formed by this neck and this shaft, it's called calodiaphysial angle. Calo means neck and diaphysial means shaft. Calodiaphysial angle. So this calodiaphysial angle, it increase. Just assume if it is somewhere like this, if the angle is somewhere like this, rather that means right angle like this, and the body weight press from this, then naturally it will tends to break. But when it is supported like this, rather in a Y shaft, you see like this. So here when the weight is pressed from this above, it can easily support the body weight. So that is why calodiaphysial angle is large, or rather obtuse angle, roughly about from 120 to 125 degree. So this calodiaphysial angle is again increased. I mean, the increase in calodiaphysial angle is one important remarkable change that we have noticed on human femur due to assumption of erect posture. Then the angle of the femur starting from this to the upper extremity, it is angle outward from knee. What I mean is the angle of the femur is outward from knee. It is not perfectly vertical. So this outward angle of the femur from knee again helps in supporting the whole body weight. Because had it been perfectly vertical, then when the body weight is pressed from above, there may be chances of falling out. But when it is like this, angle out from above, it easily supports the body weight. And again, at the same time, the head of the femur is comparatively very large as compared to other non-human primates. Why? Because this is to be hafted to the acetabulum of the pelvis, which also has rather a large diameter and comparatively deeper acetabulum. So, in order to haft to that acetabulum, it needs to be large. So, when it is hafted properly in a large area, it can easily hold the body weight. So, this is another modification that has taken place on the femur due to assumption of erect posture. Now, let us come to foot, human foot. Like pelvis, skull and vertebral column and other parts as well, human foot also underwent a number of changes due to assumption of erect posture. When we say foot, we mean the distalmost part of our hind limbs. So we should not confuse foot with leg. So foot is a part of leg. Now, the foot of man is no more a grasping organ. It is rather a locomotory organ. Among the apes and monkeys, the foot as well as the hands are grasping organ. But in case of man, the foot is no more a grasping organ, but it is an organ which is meant for locomotion, meant for walking. So that is why the foot experience a number of modifications, a number of changes due to assumption of erect posture. Let us see some of the examples, some of those changes which have occurred due to assumption of erect posture. Now, you just compare your foot with your hand. This is a hand. This is palm. This is a hand. Here, the thumb easily spreads out. Easily spreads out. And it is opposable to other digits. Opposable means, you see, this is the under surface of your thumb. This is the under surface of your index finger, the under surface of your middle finger, ring finger, little finger, like this. You can oppose this surface with this, like this. Now, you can touch this one with this one. So, this is opposable. Here, this is opposable. Can you do like that with your great toe and other digits? Great toe cannot oppose with other toes. So that is why great toe is no more opposable in man, because it is not an organ for grasping. Well, again, that is another modification, another change that man has experienced due to assumption of erect posture. Now, coming to another point, here the thumb, as I told you, it spreads out. It is differentiated, or it is completely bifurcated. It is no more in it's not fastened together by a common ligament. It is quite separate. But in case of great toe, the metatarsal of the great toe is fastened together by a common ligament. So that is why it doesn't spread out. Just assume, if your great toe spreads out like a thumb of your hand, and imagine you walk with a separate, or rather quite separate, great toe, then you will frequently step on it. It will be frequently, you will step on it, rather it will be stuffed while walking. So that is why it need not be, separate. So it is fastened together by a common ligament. That is another modification. First, non-opposability, that's one point. The second one is great toe is no more separate. It is in a line with other toes. Here you see, this, it is like this is quite lower. Now, in case of foot, the great toe is comparatively longer and the other toes are comparatively shorter. As such, the toes are all in a line, unlike that of hand. So, among the primates, other primates, apes and the monkeys, their great toes are still separate. It is not bound together by a common ligament. And the foot as such is still a grasping organ. But for man, it is not a grasping organ. Well, you see, the whole body weight is ultimately to be supported by our foot. This is the skeleton of a foot. So, the whole body weight is to be supported by foot, this foot. So, this foot experience another modification for supporting the body weight. You see, if you examine, if you see the under surface of your foot, we call it plantar surface. For hand, this we call it palmar surface. For foot, we call it plantar surface, the under surface. If you see the plantar surface, what happens? It is not perfectly plain. It is not perfectly plain. Somewhere in the middle, it is little bit bent. It forms a curvature, and that curvature is called arch of the foot. And that arch of the foot is it is oriented in such a manner that it is longitudinal as well as horizontal. There is a horizontal like this. If you just assume it as a foot, there is a curvature here. Curvature goes like this as well as like this. So horizontal as well as longitudinal curvature, and that is arch of the foot. So that arch of the foot is present on the foot of man, but not a very well defined arch is present on the foot of other primates, say monkeys and apes. Then what is the function of this arch? This arch acts as a shock absorber, When a high pressure, a heavy weight is given from the top of the body, you see, it is little bit bent like this. So when it is pressed, it slowly expands. It slowly expands. So the weight is not felt by the foot. So that is why that arch is very important. So that transverse and longitudinal arch help as a shock absorber. Then this is the skeleton of foot. This is called talus. This is calcaneum heel bone. These are tarsal bones. These are metatarsal. 5 metatarsal bones are there. Then these are all phalanges. So altogether, talus 1, calcaneum 2, and another 5 tarsus, then metatarsal 5, and 14 phalanges. So these constitute the foot. It's the skeleton of the foot. And particularly here, what happened? This talus bone and calcaneum bone experience a change. This calcaneum bone, which we call heel bone, bone of the heel, it is comparatively larger and it elongates backward little bit. Why? Just to help in supporting the body weight. So that is another modification that human foot is experienced. Then this talus bone, it is again enlarged. This is also larger than the talus bone of other primates, apes and monkeys, and it is wedge shaped. Why? Again, it helps in transmitting and supporting the body weight. So these are some of the anatomical changes, or what you call anatomical modification, that we have observed on the foot of man due to assumption of erect posture.